So one of the biggest debates I see in the Notion community is whether or not to keep all of your tasks within Notion. Now, I've tried both approaches. I'm a really big advocate of Todoist for my task management. I did give Notion an honest try and really spent a few weeks trying to do all of my task management in Notion. Ultimately, I decided against that. In this video, I'm going to walk you through what I tried, some of the pros and cons I see to each approach, and how you can kind of decide what works best for you. So just to start off with, I think really the advantage of not using a task management system like Todoist and purely using Notion for all of your project management and task management is that it really does let you keep everything in one place. And there's obvious benefits to that. For one, there's just something nice about knowing that everything is in one place. And that doesn't just help you keep things more organized, it also makes it easier to summarize and contextualize that information throughout your system, which is obviously super beneficial. There's actually ways you can do that with Todoist though too. And that's kind of what I wanted to highlight in this video, that you don't have to give up the benefits of having a system where everything's in one place if you do want to use something like Todoist. I'm going to focus on that because it's the software that I really like using. But again, these principles are kind of applicable to any sort of to-do software that you'd prefer to use over Notion. So before I dive into the specifics on how you can make Todoist more contextual, I wanted to just do a quick overview of why I like Todoist over Notion for task management. So the big one, and this is one that people cite a lot, is just how fast Todoist is. Now, to be clear, I'm not complaining about the slowness of Notion because I think that that's something that gets really overemphasized. I don't actually think that Notion is slow at all. What I think Todoist is specifically faster at is inputting tasks. And I'll kind of show you that here. Because one thing I really like about Todoist is that after you type out your task description, you don't have to click off or go anywhere else to start filtering and kind of categorizing your tasks. So if I needed to do this task I'm making here every Friday at 3 p.m., I literally just have to type that in. And you can see here in the due date that it's automatically defaulted it to a recurring task at Friday at 3 p.m. I could even do something like every other Friday. I could just type literally just #Q, and there it is in a project. I can also quickly add labels to it. So if I want to label this as a work task, again, just @W, and it's automatically filtered. I just hit enter, and that's in there. And you can see I've actually done all of this from within Notion. So this is just an embed that points specifically to my Todoist inbox. And this is how you bring the advantage of a system that allows for emergence with Todoist. Basically, all you have to do is copy out the specific Todoist URLs for the view you want, and then you can pull that into whatever pages you need. So if you wanted to, you could create a filter for tomorrow's tasks and have a section in your dashboard that was filtered down to tomorrow. And that way, all you have to do is open up that little toggle and it'll default to that filter. So the other thing I really just prefer about Todoist is how clean and minimal the UI is. Here I am in my today view, and it's just really apparent to me, what the first things I need to do are. If I need to quickly bring a task to the top, I can just say P1 or give it a time box, and that will cause it to go to the top there. There's just something about the way the Notion tables look that makes it a little bit slower for me to pick up the next task and get running with it. So this is another area where I just prefer Todoist. I also like just being able to pull up Todoist itself and not have anything else to distract me. There's times when this bigger picture view can be helpful, but there's other times where I just like to really focus in on what I'm doing next. And so it's just really nice to be able to bring up Todoist by itself. The mobile application for Todoist is really well optimized. So that's just another area where I really prefer Todoist. So here's how I actually go through the process of bringing Todoist into Notion. First off, you need to start with a filter. So if you're using one of the basic filters like Inbox or Today, all you have to do is copy the URL. I'm going to show you real quick how to do something a little bit more advanced. So let's say we wanted to make a filter like Today and not work. All we have to do in the query is Today. So let's say I know I want to exclude any work tasks, and I also want to filter to just quick tasks. So I'll do that. I'll hit add. That'll create the filter. And it should automatically take you to the page. Then all you have to do is copy that URL, go back to the page you want to paste it on, just paste in the URL, create embed. And this is how it'll look. I tend to keep these small so that the menu doesn't show up. And then I also have a stylus configuration, basically to match the interface to Notion so that it looks like it's all coming from one place. If that's something you're interested in, you can just check out the video description and I'll have a link to it there. Now, as of last week, it's actually possible to set up a workflow between Todoist and Notion using the API to where any task you create in Todoist is automatically added to a database in Notion. And that's fine if you want to take that approach. I'm choosing not to do that. And really what it comes down to is I don't think that Notion is the best place to keep that information. I think that Notion's great for project management. It's great for keeping track of processes and keeping track of assets that you have created over time and notes and things like that that you've saved that you want to resurface later. But when it comes to my tasks, I just want to kind of get them done and then forget about them. I might pull in my daily highlights into my kind of daily page where I summarize some of that stuff. But most of the tasks I do throughout the day, I just kind of want to forget about. And so I really kind of look at Notion as my long-term memory and Todoist as just kind of my short-term do it and forget about it kind of tasks. So if it's something that I just don't want to think about anymore, I'll put it in Todoist, I'll do it, I'll mark it off, and then it's just kind of gone. And that's the workflow that works best for me. I'll continue to expand on this in future videos and how I pull some of my Todoist metrics into Notion. But really, I just wanted to show you guys how you can pull your Todoist views into Notion and get the power of that kind of emergent system process without having to keep everything in Todoist. And just as kind of a final closing thought, I see people complain a lot about the speed of Notion, and the more databases and records and associations you're putting into Notion, the more you're giving it to think about every time you load up a page. And so by keeping things that you don't really need to put in Notion, like Todoist tasks that are just going to go away at the end of the day anyway, you really help set yourself up for ongoing success with Notion. Because if you're not bringing in information that you don't need, you won't be slowing yourself down more and more as time goes on. So I think that's useful to think about. Sometimes when you get tools like Notion, it's important to still put parameters around them. Really, that just helps you make sure that the tool continues to be valuable and quick for you over time. That's all for today, but I'm going to be putting out a lot more Notion content over the next few days, so be sure to subscribe. If this video was helpful to you, I'd really appreciate it if you clicked the like button. Thanks, catch you next time.